Hello everyone, it's episode 20, Road to Super Bowl, your NFL preview for the upcoming 2025 season. And today, here we are with Buffalo Bills, and I was like, dude, it's so freaking hot outside. I'm sitting here recording this at night, and it's still freaking damn hot. And I cannot handle hot, I'm not good. And these are probably the most hottest days in my country across this year. And I'm like freaking dying here. So I thought like, well, let's do one of the funniest team, one of the best teams in the league from the place that should cool you off. And truth to be told, we will start this with an unusual prediction because I don't think they are the biggest favorites by the Vegas, or by anyone. And obviously, I want my Seahawks to reach the Super Bowl and win it. But if you would ask me, and like, what is your gut feeling? Who is going to be the next Super Bowl champion? I would say Buffalo Bills, man. It's a gut feeling. I know that until they get over their demons and beat the freaking Chiefs, like if today is the conference championship, is Bills versus Chiefs, I'm not betting Bills, man. Like, it's just, they are the demons, right, for them, but maybe it's the year that they can get rid of the boogeyman that Chiefs are. And this team should be freaking ready. So let's find out why, and let's start this road for this year Super Bowl, perhaps, of Buffalo Bills. And we will do that as usual with looking at their draft. Now, long story short, this was kind of an average draft for me. And it starts on day one with Maxwell Hairston selection that I was not a huge fan. To me, this was early. And like with his frame, I'm not necessarily certain that this is the guy that's going to thrive in the weather that Buffalo has. He's not a bad player, but I feel like there are more talented corners that if you needed to improve this room, you could take on, perhaps attached with more risks than Maxwell Hairston, but I don't think he comes risk-free with his body frame to work in, especially December and January, which pretty much if you are this team, those are the months that you should be focused on, not necessarily whether this guy is going to be good at in October at Miami. So not a huge fan, slight reach, but not an outrageous pick. Then they moved up to get TJ Sanders, which I'm like, was he necessarily worth moving up, sacrificing some resources? Not super certain. I feel like at this point it would be a fine pick if it was their original pick, but with the other resources, I was like, a little bit hesitant. At the same time, it's clear that for them, the thinking is, what is the playoffs? And in the playoffs, the trenches matter super freaking much. Stopping the run when you need to, and that's what this guy could do for them. He's a massive human being, and he could be very solid rotational tackle for them. And is he a potential star? I don't think so, but as a guy that could be your number 2 tackle for years to come, I think that's what TJ Sanders is there to do. So solid pick, nothing special. With Landon Jackson, it feels very similar in terms of this guy could be in rotation. I don't expect him to emerge as the superstar for them, but around later, similar talent, fine pick, very fine pick. It's fine. Those picks are fine, and it's I understand them; they are appropriate. But also not something that you are screaming about, which is when you compare this to the Chiefs, who, if Conley's health stays, or Simmons, not Conley, I have these two guys mixed up several times, so sorry for that if it happened. If John Simmons' health is okay, sorry for this guy, it's just super freaking hot here. If he hits, he is their future franchise tackle. And potential Pro Bowler. With Baltimore, Malachi Starks, I think, is a perennial Pro Bowler incoming. I think he's going to fit right there. So, I feel these guys drafted difference makers, whilst Buffalo drafted good options, but not the guys that I would necessarily expect to crack top 15 on their team in any future. Whilst in Baltimore, I do expect that from Malachi Starks. With Chiefs, I do expect that with Josh Simmons. With Eagles, I do expect that from Jihad Campbell. So that's to me where I'm a little bit hesitant on this draft, comparing it to the other perennial Super Bowl teams out there. Overall, fine day 1 and day 2, nothing special. But I really like day 3. With Deon Walker, to me, that's pick that, in retrospect, I would give even a higher grade, because to me, he's a guy that if everything hits, he has the potential to be a difference maker. And if it doesn't, well, it doesn't really, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but for a 4th round pick and for a group that you already, I felt like, secured enough rotational players that, if one guy falls from that rotation as a potential 5th defensive tackle, it's okay, that's absolutely okay. But if he can emerge as a superstar, which I think is in Deon Walker's potential, now we're talking. So I like this dart throw. I really think he might be a little bit boom or busty in terms of potential, but the boom is really nice. And I'm a huge fan of Jackson Hayes and what he brings actually towards Buffalo Bill. And that to me is a guy that's going to replace Dalton Knox in 1 year, unless Dalton Knox really put it up. Because to me, after signing a new deal, after drafting Colt Kincaid, he has not been Dalton Kincaid, not Colt. I'm sorry. He has just given up in terms of he's not their number 1 tight end, and it's not Kincaid just emerged into league as Sam Laporta and Brock Bowers. He's been solid, but I feel it has really diminishing kind of force on Dawson Knox, and to me he's one of the most overpaid players on this roster. And you can save some money by replacing him with Jackson Hayes, who I'm not saying he's going to offer you the exact same, but it's not going to be a huge difference, at least in my eyes. And at the same time, maybe this pick is going to lit up something under Dawson Knox to emerge as what was once upon a time really nice balanced tight end number 1. So I really like this pick. And I will say the same thing about Dorian Strong, who to me, okay, Maxwell Hairston with 1st round pedigree, etc., has obviously a very good chance to emerge as their starting corner, but I would not be shocked if if Dorian Strong actually, after all, outplayed him. I think these guys, I'm not saying they're a similar level of prospects, but they are not four level of 4 rounds from each other. So I think Dorian Strong has a strong case for making a rotation of the corners here, and I would not be shocked if in the long term he is a better contributor than Maxwell Hairston. So fine picks, day 1, understand them. I'm not excited, but day 3 I really love. So that was your Bills draft. Now, where does this draft leave their team in terms of their offense? Let's find out. And we'll start with the offensive line, because I've read and heard a lot of great things about these offensive linemen, and even PFF has them 4th best offensive line, I think. I heard guys from Bootleg Football talking about them as at least top 5. On another list they were kind of 14th, and I'm I understand they're good, I like them, but top 5? Really? Better than Colts? I don't think so. To me, they are kind of borderline top 10 offensive line. They're really good, but special? I don't necessarily see that. I will acknowledge that I'm both David Edwards and Connor McGovern might be on the top of their good starter, decent starter category, but Osiris Torrance, that a lot of people are super excited about, especially for his run blocking. Yeah, he's a big dude, but there's a lot of bad tape, that he falls off blocks and doesn't hit, and I'm not I don't think he's bad. He had very solid year 2, but as a potential Pro Bowler, as really a guy that you can actually really trust from this interior, I think he's their weakest link. I don't think he's a bad player, but I think he's their weakest link. So I'm a little bit hesitant to really call this unit a top 5, or even with that potential. And I feel they are nice group, but not as special as people talk about it. Now, in terms of their tackles, Deion Dawkins, he's a dog, man. This dude, he's here for 8 years or something like that. Just your type of left tackle. Is he the best? No, he's on the verge of 10 to 14th best given the year. But Definitely, Josh Allen knows he can count on him. He will have his occasional losses. He's a little bit too grabby with 15 penalties, but you have to understand that these are also including playoffs. So if we are comparing these stats to some of the guys that have not sniffed playoffs, it's like more games for Deion Dawkins. So it's not horrendous, but it's a lot. But like, yeah, you are happy to have Deion Dawkins. And with Spencer Brown, man, okay, like now we're talking. Like this is the dude that just ascends and ascends, and I think right now he could be in conversation for top 5 right tackle, and perhaps there is even more to unlock with him. So I really am a huge fan of Spencer Brown. I think he's probably the best player of this offensive line. Like it's either him or Deion. I would give it to Brown, and definitely a guy that to me has the biggest potential to even emerge as a superstar for this unit. So, in terms of tackles, top 5 might not be out of the hand though. Again, like, would I pick them over Bucks? No. Over Eagles? No. Over Colts? No. Who else would we put in the mix? Over Packers? Yes. Over Seahawks? Yes. Okay, let's stop having fun. Over Vikings with Deriso and Brian O'Neill, I wouldn't put them over. Yeah, so about that 5 mark, I think the conversation could start for Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins, which is like absolutely nice. Like that's super nice, like building block. In terms of this inside, you have David Edwards, who had really nice season. I feel like he was not as flashy as Osiris Torrance, but definitely much more of a steady player. He doesn't come with the biggest of pedigree, drafted in the 5th round, like 6th-year veteran, but to me, he's been very, very solid, and they kind of struggled with him because like his cap hit is actually quite low. Let me recheck on this. Yeah, David Edwards, 4.9 million. That's a damn good deal. They signed him last year for 2 years, 6 million. And that's one of the things that this front office is doing remarkably. Like, put Dawson Knox aside. Like, there is probably not an overpaid player on this roster. And there is a lot of guys that are underpaid. Like Spencer Brown signed 4 years, 72. So he's 18 million a year, which for potentially top 3 right tackle, and as of right now, somewhere around top 5, that's almost a bargain. Like Deion Dawkins on a similar trajectory. Like they re-signed Josh Allen to really manageable contract. Now Khalil Shakir and his extension, like, oh my God, how do you sign Khalil Shakir to 4 years, 53 million? That's ridiculously low for a guy of his qualities. So this team, this front office is doing a remarkable job. They are taking care of their guys sooner than they need to, in terms of like almost as soon as possible you are eligible for extension, we will resign you. And as far as, banking on potential, those guys are getting it back. Like really, Dawson Knox is the only guy I can see on this roster that is, to me, overpaid. Okay, there is another guy that's like Bills fans are not going to be happy about, which is Terrell Bernard. I was critical of the resigning of Terrell for 4 years, 42 million, but this front office, these coaches, this fan base absolutely love him. So the fact that I'm lower on him as LB2, okay. But perhaps, and that could be the same with Dawson Knox, because I didn't necessarily hear like anything bad about Dawson, despite like when I really watch these two guys play, like I don't feel that they are as much as involved as the payment would suggest, but perhaps they are great. Like it seems like they are great leaders, great connection, and kind of glue that holds it together, which are definitely valuable things for this Bills. And that's like one thing again that you have to put towards Buffalo, and I'm like super happy to watch Hard Knocks this year because you feel the connection between this franchise and these fans. It's special, and those guys are crazy. They are crazy. They are passionate, but at the same time, they are understanding that one of 32 teams wins Super Bowl every year, and even if you think you are the best team in the league, which let's say they are definitely like top 5. Even like the Vegas says, you are going, like your chances of actually winning Super Bowl are around 12%. Like that's stupid low in terms of like, well, we are the best and we need to win. Like, yeah, 1 out of 8 times. Good freaking luck with that. So they're kind of understanding of this. which is something that I appreciate so freaking much, because that's the understanding that even if you put out your best, this is still such a volatile game. So one game in the playoffs that one mistake, 1 yard, everything can go. And it doesn't mean that you should not be cheering for the team and you should like turn your back on them. I love this fan base. I truly, truly do. And yeah, of course, Seahawks is my number one thing to go when I am in the USA. I hopefully will get there through my illness, that I will be able to travel. We will see. But after that, Buffalo is definitely the place I would like to experience the atmosphere, because it's freaking amazing. They were impeccable at home last year, losing 0 games in regular season, and this team is just connecting through this fan base, and I'm super happy that they are the team chosen to be on Hard Knocks. I'm just starting the first episode. I didn't want to like really look at Hard Knocks prior to doing this, so I'm not like kind of biased towards this team, because Hard Knocks and like usually the shows will make you feel better, like watch quarterback and don't feel better about Kirk Cousins, try to do that. So I'm super excited to actually watch them. Now, that's your tackles, that's David Edwards. With Connor McGovern, to me, he's just like your steady Eddie, really good center that, again, like they found on cheap like 2 or 3 years ago. 3 years, 22 millions. Like that's, again, very, very nice signing. Like he was not special with the Cowboys. He was brought here, and he's, again, that average center that everything can revolve around, and you are not worried about him. Is he necessarily a guy that pushes you forward? No, but it's hard for him to get pushed backwards. Next to him, Osiris Torrance, to me, definitely kind of a wild factor, because I didn't necessarily super like his tape. It was like solid, but nothing special. And like there's potential. There are situations in which he is what people are talking about him, but to me they're coming more with flashes rather than with consistency. So if he can get consistent, he could be a Pro Bowler, but he needs to get there. Even if things stay as they are, which like none of these guys is necessarily poised to age regression. Deion Dawkins 31, it's like kind of on the verge that it might start to happen, but I feel like it's kind of in balance with Spencer Brown and 27. Like, has he been at his best yet? I don't necessarily think so. The same with Osiris Torrance. So I think this is going to be around the top 10 offensive line, but like calling it the top 5 seems like a stretch to me. In terms of backups, I'm like not concerned. I'm also not I'm not absolutely like confident, because Cedric Van Pran, I feel like he was nice that throw. Alec Anderson played some games, looked solid, but they are both interior depth. They also brought Kendrick Green here, so interior depth it's fine. But in terms of backup, we brought Chase Land. Was he drafted or was it 6th round pick this year? Nice, like interesting that throw. They have Tyler Grable, but nothing that would make me kind of certain. But the good thing is, no, Spencer Brown is definitely a guy that is hard to miss some games. With Deion Dawkins, there were some moments, but they need to stay healthy in my eyes, because I don't really trust the tackle depth here. Now, Josh Allen. What is there to say? This dude is freaking amazing, and my credit has to go to Joe Brady, because Josh Allen entering the league, it was wild. Then Brian Gable came in, made Josh elite. Like not made him, like he always had the elite traits, but that combination really like took Josh on another level. And then they brought who it was after Brian Gable. Oh god, I'm going to check that one out. It was Ken Dorsey. Sorry. And with Ken and Josh Allen, like Josh was still damn good and close to eliteness, but I don't think that offense necessarily tapped too much into Josh. Like not too much into Josh. I tapped like way too much into Josh in a sense that he was kind of asked to be a Superman, and like he's not a guy that would shy away from the responsibility, but it was not necessarily great in terms of complementing him with other things that the offense is doing great. It was, Josh, save us all. And, with Joe Brady coming here, I felt like, yeah, Josh, well, sometimes we are going to need you to do that, but let's hope not, because we will give you an advantageous position, we'll improve and really tap into the running game here, bring you weapons, and everything's just going to be really precise, smooth, and from occasion to occasion, you will get to be a Superman, and Josh definitely lean into that, and you see, like, it's freaking unstoppable at times. Like, you cannot like stopping this run attack with the passing options, because if you try to stack the box, Josh is going to punish outside. If you don't, dual threat QB, they will lean into the power with him, and it's freaking tough to stop his offense. Almost 5 times. Oh, it was 1 yard. Yeah, 1 yard. He actually was over 5,000 yards combined with the playoffs, and he deserved MVP. I'm on record to say that I think if co-MVP was a thing, I do believe Lamar Jackson also absolutely freaking deserved it. But like, both guys had incredible season, and I don't see a reason why Josh Allen should not just repeat that. Here's my concern, and here's why this year could be actually very pivotal for the Bills, because I think this is going to be the year that if they don't win Super Bowl, and if they stick with Sean McDermotts for upcoming seasons, which Sean McDermott is good. I don't think he's special head coach. And I do believe that Joe Brady actually is really, really good offensive coordinator. And one more year of this offense humming on all cylinders like this, I think he's gone. I think he's going to take a head coaching job. And unless you win a Super Bowl, I would really, really put it on the Bills. Don't repeat Brian Daboll thing where you have a special OC, you let him go, and you struggle for a year or two before you find the next guy to match with Josh Allen towards the degree that Brian Daboll and now Joe Brady did. Think about promoting Joe Brady towards your head coach. I know it's not happening, and like, for some reason the franchises do not do it. And I'm not saying like Sean McDermott doesn't deserve a statue. Like, he's been the guy that took this franchise, really put it on their legs, made it great. Like, he deserves a lot of flowers. But as the league evolves, as a lot of great minds come into the league, as league shifts towards offensive, not orny, but oriented, it's like, I think he's a great defensive coach. I don't think he's special. He's a very good culture builder, but if it's not even this year, I think you kind of need to take a swing and strive for a guy that could get you over the hump, perhaps with a chance that it could go downhill, but at the same time, how much downhill it could get when you have Josh Allen. So that's like one question that I have for this franchise. If it's not going to happen this year, I feel like there is more than 50% chance you are losing Joe Brady towards another offer. Could you just not promote him yourself? I know from Sean McDermott, I'm not saying it would be like super fair. At the same time, I think it might be what the franchise would need it. If it's not going to happen this year, I think it will actually. Not I think. My gut feeling says, my thinking says like it's 12%. So I'm not going to say it as it's going to happen, because I don't even think like the reality is like, you know, the chances is actually quite small, and that's for every franchise. So it's hard to predict the winner of the Super Bowl, of course. We'll see. But with Josh, there's obviously nothing bad to say. Now, with the weapons, I put James Cook towards an elite running backs and like lower tier of early running backs, but up there. And I would say that would be controversial for a lot of people to really see his name up there, but I felt like he played to that level. And of course, his play is boosted by having Josh Allen as a constant dual threat for this rushing attack. It allows him to go against lighter boxes because there is a spy waiting for Josh, etc., etc. Really nice design. So I will be watching, especially if like missing some parts of the camp is going to have an effect on James Cook, and I might lower him actually quite soon into the league. But I felt like he deserved this. He was really freaking special for them last year. He was especially productive. He handled a lot of carries. I felt like a lot of problems that he had in the past, they did not necessarily exist last year. So am I saying he's Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson? No. But I'm saying like he's out there, perhaps like James Conner-esque and slightly better. That's kind of where I would have James Cook. But again, definitely a guy that I'm going to be watching. What is it with him? Because he's smaller back. Can the wear and tear on him start to show up early on the tape? Can missing a camp have an effect? So a little bit of a wild card for this team, but if things go as they did last year, I think the league will actually recognize him as one of the, top 10 backs, which I don't think he would be on many of the lists. On mine, we would probably be flirting with the bottom end of that top 10, and by the grade definitely. So we will see. We will see about James, but I think he's definitely a great player. One thing that perhaps you can say that I am overvaluing on him, and where I would like, even though I have an elite grade on him, I might in some like rankings put him below some guys that I have only as amazing, which is really all about I may have trouble to stay coherent with my rankings in terms of guys that are like not utilized to the fullest, because they have Ray Davis and Ty Johnson to really specially complement James Cook in terms of third down work, in terms of super short line goal. It's like, yeah, this is their future back, but it's not like 80% him, like Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. It's more like 50 to 60% is James Cook, and they have two other guys that complement him nicely. I feel like for that 50% of the work, he's really putting in on an elite level. But should you call him an elite when there is perhaps James Conner that is going to handle 40% more of the workload, perhaps on slightly lesser level? The same with Jonathan Taylor. I feel like, great on Jonathan Taylor and James Cook are Jonathan as an amazing starter and James as elite. But at the same time, if I'm like choosing my like feature back, I would go with Jonathan Taylor. So that's where I might be struggling, because I'm mostly saying these grades is on what the guy is producing on the field. The same like I've noticed with some of the linebackers, when I'm like, yeah, when they are on the field, they have this amount of impact, but you also cannot put them on the field for everything. So that might be one area when, like I'm just doing it the second year, and it might require some more consistency from me, or something like that would acknowledge this, which I think by doing this, I'm actually doing. So, but we'll see. I will try to figure out if I can improve this, because it might be weird that I'm saying like James Cook is an elite, Jonathan Taylor is just amazing, but if I were to starting a franchise where I took Jonathan or James, I would probably took Jonathan Taylor. So that's or like one year season. But James Cook to me still really great back, no matter some of the deficiency he has, or perhaps it's not necessarily deficiency, and that's another part like of where I'm a little bit struggling. It might just be they are freaking smart. They know this guy could do it, but why kind of bother with him when you have a guy that can do it on a really great level, and we can leave some of the pressure from James Cook, really have him fresh on when we need. So that's one of the things, like, can the guy not do it, or is he not asked to because the franchise is actually smart, I'm interested in your opinion. In terms of wide receivers, this team is not necessarily like looking to just pass the ball 50 times a game, and they kind of have one guy that I think has an alpha potential to be low end one. Right now he's really nice too in Khalil Shakir, and that's kind of enough for this offense. They not need Justin Jefferson. Like, obviously it would be nice to have Justin Jefferson, but they are more designed to equip heavier personnel, to run the ball hard, and to have the guys as like complementary weapons almost for this offense, where like you need Khalil Shakir to be a threat, to like take the top of the defenses, to threaten on some levels. The same with Keon Coleman and Josh Palmer. Like, it's not like you don't need wide receivers for this type of offense, but they are not the star of the show. The star of the show is Josh Allen, it's the running game, it's James Cook, and those guys are here to allow that and to punish defenses if they are keeping them super light. I think for that, Khalil Shakir is absolutely okay as your number one guy. and with potential to really be and emerge as like top 20 wide receivers. Yeah, that's what Khalil Shakir is. Like, his production is probably never going to be special with like Joe Brady and this system, but that's absolutely freaking okay. And he is a great player. So don't sleep on him. Don't sleep on 4 touchdowns. Look at 80% receptions. Look at him being open. Yeah, that's what Khalil Shakir. Keon Coleman, clearly a big threat, like on 32 receptions, almost 600 yards. Was he as good as he could have been? No, but that's kind of scary. Like, there were some drops, there were some miscommunications, and still it was like 600 yards, some big plays, and a really nice complementary weapon for Khalil Shakir and this offense. So, watch out for Keon Coleman this year. If he can get more on the same level with Josh Allen, more connection, and like if he's receiving 60% of his targets, we might talk about another like 800 yards receiver and a guy that could move into that important status. With Josh Palmer, it was a move that some people have criticized, some people like acknowledge as good. I'm like, you also have Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, but in case that Khalil Shakir goes down or Keon Coleman goes down, I think Josh Palmer is kind of nice guy that should ensure that you have at least nice duo out there that is like dependable and good enough. I'm not saying he's great, and I don't think he has like tremendous potential, but I think he's a good player. And for this amount of money, signing a good wide receiver that, like on normal days, he can rotate, get like 60-70% of the snaps. Is there kind of an insurance policy if Keon Coleman does not work out or like improves year 2, or if anybody gets injured, and you still can trust your 2 guys? I'm absolutely okay. I think it's fine signing. I don't think it's super, but I think it's absolutely fine. Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, interesting depth for like more, again, specific role players. Curtis from the slot, and guys that can complement this. Now with tight ends, here is where, again, like I'm lower on Dawson Knox than definitely guys from Buffalo are going to be, and I think I'm even lower on Dalton Kincaid that all the guys will be at Buffalo. And this is definitely a room that I believe needs to improve if this team is about to go over the hump. And it's not like if they don't, they cannot do it. It's with so fine margins that you are struggling when you're playing the Chiefs, when you're playing the Ravens in the playoffs. This group that in Dawson Knox, they invested heavy money. In Dalton Kincaid, they invested heavy draft pick. I don't think you've received too much that would pay up. Like, I think you have a solid room, average room, but you've invested more. And, Dalton Kincaid second year, kind of a disappointment. Dawson Knox after his draft, both 2 years were disappointing. So, Jackson Hayes here, perhaps there pushes something under those guys' ass, or perhaps they will figure it out on his own, or perhaps they will just be good, because that's what this was. This was a good tight end room, nothing special. And for a team that wants to live in 12 personnel to improve their run game, not live like that, but it's definitely they will use it quite often. And they have personnel to do it. They've invested to have that personnel. It's slightly disappointing that those guys are not reaching expectations that like the paycheck or the draft pedigree should get on them. Like, I'm not saying they are bad players. I'm saying I want more, and I hope there is. I really hope there is, because there is no reason why Dawson Knox should not be, your really balanced possession blocking tight end, like tight end 2 to complement Dalton Kincaid as what we thought would be very, very special receiving threat as from the tight end position. But like, year 1 was actually better than year 2, and that's a disappointing trajectory. Now, with the backups for this offense, we already talked about offensive line. In terms of backups for Josh Allen, okay, it's Mitch Trubisky. For a couple of downs, it can happen. You can lock into one game or 2 games with him and like win it. I'm not saying like Mitch Trubisky is like ridiculously bad. I think you can do with him what you would do with Josh Allen. You can tap into running game a little bit. He's a big guy. Perhaps you can unleash something in him, but it's like 30% of Josh Allen. So still the team is really good too, even with Mitch Trubisky. But obviously, if Josh Allen goes down for extended period of time, you are freaking screwed. We talk about Jason Hayes, we talk about Curtis Samuel, we talk about Ray Davis, your kind of bowling ball type of player. You have Ty Johnson as your receiving back for third down. So they are even a team that could survive without James Cook. But I feel like he's elevating this run game to a degree that Ray Davis and Ty Johnson could be really nice complementary weapons. And if they were to be 1-2, it would work to a degree, but it would dip quite heavily. So I was not surprised that they gave in, which is weird thing to say, because this was one area that they actually waited longer than they needed to re-signing James Cook, and they did to 4 years, 46 million. 11.5 per year, 29 guaranteed. So I think there was a question mark about, okay, we have these two guys that are playing well. Can they step up and really take 400, 500 snaps? Do we value James Cook enough that we actually don't put all workload on him, and we kind of don't want to, because we don't think he would handle it with his body. Do we value that to really pay up? I felt like that was what stalled the negotiations, and perhaps James Cook wanted to be paid towards the area of Saquon and Derek, and I feel like this contract actually reflects really nice compromise, because he's not paid, not even close to Saquon, but he's paid kind of elite money for a guy to play 50 to 60% of the snaps each single game, which is at that area, I think he actually is close to elite, hence my grade. But there is massive discount over guys like Josh Jacobs, Saquon, Derek, where but these guys can do it every single snap almost. So you get me? I hope you do. Now let's shift towards defense that I wish was a little bit better under Sean McDermott. And it starts with defensive line, which is really good in my eyes, but it starts to get a bit older. Now, it definitely goes more about the interior, where Daquan Jones, he found kind of a new life here in Buffalo. They signed him, I think, 2 years ago. Let me check on that. Yeah, no, it was prior to 25, but he was there for 22, 23. So he did not necessarily look good with Tennessee and Carolina. And it seemed like when they signed him in 2022 to 2 years, 14 million, that it was not really great. But ever since he came in, he was actually damn good for this Buffalo team. Not as a guy that's superstar, but as a guy that for a lot of defensive tackle rooms would actually kind of be your one, that you would be that's disappointing. Here he gets to be number 2 to Ed Oliver, and he's damn freaking good at it. So you like this. Next to him, Ed Oliver, again, probably a guy that might get more praise than I will give him. I think he's around that top 20-ish defensive tackle in the league, really good, but not necessarily as balanced as I would want from my number one guy. So I think he's kind of low end one. Would be a super 2 for, if you could get him next to Dexter Lawrence or anyone, but obviously that's hard to do. So he's really good. Bit more balanced would come a nice way. But really nice interior though. You would wish they were better against run defense, and that's something that this team tends to struggle in terms of playoffs, that you can run on them, especially from the inside. And hence, drafting TJ Sanders, they hoped is going to be solution. I would say that's it. It's hope. It has far from certainty in my eyes. But obviously, if your defensive tackles are Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, you are happy. The one question you have is Daquan Jones is 34. Is he going to stay and play the same way he did last year? Because the dip could be real. And behind him, it's TJ Sanders. You obviously drafted Deion Walker as a high upside potential. I don't think he's necessarily super against the run. And there's also Divine Carter. But it's definitely a room that you look at, and it on the surface it's fine. But can you see it actually become a problem for this team? It could happen. In terms of edge, you have Greg Rousseau. Is he necessarily a superstar that a lot of people hoped he would be when they drafted him? He was a 30th pick, first round. I don't think yet, but he's definitely in that area of like more Montez Sweats of the world, where if he's your best pass rusher, you can absolutely live with that. On a superb defensive line, he would be your two, and like he's damn freaking good. Like I really like it, Greg Rousseau, and another guy they got on a discount in my eyes in terms of the extension, like 4 year 80 millions. Like DJ Watt is 3 years 120. Like dude, sign me up for Greg Rousseau. Like no shade of DJ Watt, but like 4 years 80 on Greg Rousseau, that's insanely nice, a nice price. So definitely a huge fan. On the other edge, you have Joey Bosa, and that's another like big factor for this team. That can he stay healthy, and how smart you can be about him. And to me, why I really like this signing and would be probably A- for me is they showed they can be absolutely smart with these veteran signings. Because with Von Miller, last couple of years after his injury, he was like, we are not going to give you 20 snaps in week 1. Like, why? Like, let's give you out there for free key, 4 downs, 10 snaps a game, and that's it. Let's save you. Let's not wear and tear your body, and we will need you in the playoffs. Here we are going to put you for 40 snaps a game. And I definitely believe that that's going to be the case for Joey Bosa. I feel like for week 1 or like through week 10, I think he's going to be like 3rd or 4th in terms of snaps for this edge room. And even like if he's absolutely healthy. And that would be a smart thing to do, because you really need him when the bread is breaking. That's kind of a saying here, like, or when the ice is melting, or like in this case more when the ice is freezing. You freaking need him for the playoffs. And he is still a good player when healthy, really good player. Special run defender. In terms of pass rush, it took a dip, but as your edge 2 and kind of complement to Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau, healthy Joe Bosa is really, really nice fit. I do believe they are going to be smart about him, and let's hope that in the, let's say, minimum workload, he can preserve his body to stay and be there for those key freaking moments, because that could be very, very big. In terms of rotation for this defensive line, I really like the signing of Michael Hecht. I think he's really nice value for this type of money. There is some suspension, but I'm not like super worried about it, because I really the schedule for the first 6 weeks is actually quite easy for the Bills, and for 3 years, kind of $6 million a year, really nice rotation guy. Him, AJ Epinesa are kind of the guys that I do expect to pick up some slack when Joey Bosa is tried to be preserved. There are some kind of hybrids also that you can plug and play them, and definitely guys that could be just fine. They also have Javon Solomon there. Okay, DJ Sanders into rotation. There is also going to be Larry Ogunjobi coming back from the suspension, which was like kind of why I necessarily did not like the signing, because he's going to be suspended for like third of his contract here, and they did not pay him like not unsubstantial amount of money. But yet another like body towards that defensive line rotation, and they are kind of 10 deep with really nice front 4 or like back 4, whatever you want to call them, with the D line. That is it special unit? No, but is it a unit that should hold you back? Should not know its job in the playoffs? I definitely don't think so. Now, in terms of linebackers, Matt Milano, captain, a guy that they sorely missed last year, and I don't think it was him when he came back from the injury. He was like not necessarily as good as you would like to, and it could be age, but I definitely think he's going to put up better performance. I think at 31, this is not the end of his physical opportunity. He might be past his absolute physical prime, but for a smart player and veteran he is, and captain of this defense, I think it's going to be quite okay. Next to him, there will be rotation of Terrell Bernard. They also brought Shaq Thompson here and Dorian Williams. So I would say Terrell Bernard, especially with the money, is the most likely starter next to Matt Milano. But they will rotate into 3 linebacker sets quite often. So for Dorian Williams and Shaq Thompson, there is going to be a time and opportunity to play. With Darren Bernard, there should be a decent starter next to his name. I don't think he's good backup though. Like, I really don't like his tape too much, and I would not sign him to 4 years, 42 millions. But is there enough traits? Is there enough grittiness in him that it starts to click and show on film even more than I see? With like 4th and 5th year in the league. Yeah, I think so. Again, not the biggest fan in terms of like how good I think this player is. Nothing against like his stamina, against like his professionalism, nothing against that. I think with Dorian Williams, you have similar caliber of a guy for much cheaper. So I would rather walk, but that's just me. And from what I heard, they value him super, super heavily from every like layer of the defense and like his presence around this team. So that's definitely valuable for them. Shaq Thompson, interesting like a dart throw to perhaps help mentor Terrell and Dorian Williams. With Matt Milano, perhaps the question is his health and longevity. The Shaq Thompson obviously has similar problems, but the idea that you hopefully have one of the veterans out there to guide and like be that mentor from the middle and hope that one of these guys can stay healthy. Yeah, I like this room. It's very solid, slightly overpaid, but very, very solid, and definitely something that should not be a problem for this team. Now, towards the secondary, this is definitely a room that could be strength and should not be a weakness. Well, you have Christian Benford, and this guy is a stud. Like, is he top 5 corner in the league? Not in my books. Is he borderline top 10? Hell yeah. And this was his 2nd year, if I'm not mistaken. No, third. It was his 3rd year. But for the first, for a 6th round pick, he definitely outplayed. They already signed him to extension. And again, like, what a freaking signing, man. Like, 4 years, 69 millions. It's 17 and a half a year for a guy that is freaking dependable, freaking great, and borderline top 10 corner when really the Pat Surtain, Sauces of the world, JC Horns, 25 to 30. Great job, man. Great freaking job, Buffalo. You are also, I'm sorry, Taron Johnson, that's not a picture of Taron, that's Christian. But like, it can happen. Like, you can see Christian anywhere on this defense. He's that great. I mean, Christian is hell of a player and hell of a like contract signing for this organization. He is going to be the start for them for next 5 years. I truly freaking believe that. Taron Johnson, one of the best slot corners in the game. He had a little bit of a down year last season, so it's something worth monitoring because, yeah, he's getting there. 29, perhaps with. Teams, leaning heavily towards more outside, slightly like the run game coming back towards like more heavy personnels. I saw some struggle last year, even though he is a damn good run defender. Something to monitor for Taron Johnson, but I ain't worried about Taron. Now, for the rest of the secondary, I don't have Tre'Davious White here, who they brought back, and as of right now, he is listed as their other starting perimeter corner. I mean, I saw Tre'Davious White play last year, and it was not great. Like, it was really not great. Like, it was. I think they started with Rams. He was problem there, and they brought him to Baltimore to kind of be a help to save their secondary that was playing horrible. He was brought. He was not a savior, and I think he was cut even there. So I thought before they signed Tre'Davious White that this is going to be a fight between Maxwell Hairston and perhaps even Dorian Strong. But as of right now, it really feels like Tre'Davious White has this spot under him, and they hope that with like coming back home, they will get the same player that he was with them, or at least like 80% of that. He's still just 30, so it might be in him. Would I bet on it? I'm not super certain, but at the same time, it's absolutely fine to me, like as a signing to bring him back. Like, he was cheap, and at the same time, like, if you are not feeling super great about your rookies in Hairston, Tre'Davious White, I think he was cut even there. So I thought before they signed Tre'Davious White that this is going to be a fight between Maxwell Hairston and perhaps even Dorian Strong. But as of right now, it really feels like Tre'Davious White has this spot under him, and they hope that with like coming back home, they will get the same player that he was with them, or at least like 80% of that. He's still just 30, so it might be in him. Would I bet on it? and Strong, who actually it seems like they are moving him towards more of a safety, which I'm not like super happy about, but we will talk about him with safeties. Like you have veteran option and you can figure out if he can play in first couple of weeks. If so, great. Tre'Davious White back home, it's what he needs, and suddenly Maxwell Hairston needs to fight for his spot, and I actually would like that for him and his development as well, because with first round pedigree, those guys can think the spot is theirs. Suddenly losing to a veteran that has been cut by 2 teams last year does not feel that great. Let's freaking work. There is definitely a question about the number 2 perimeter outside corner for this team. But there is also like an upside. Like Tre'Davious White is what like he was in his prime, like 80 to 90% of that. Paired with Christian Benford and Taron Johnson, suddenly we talk about one of the best corner room in the league. So we will see where that goes. In terms of safeties, I think there are a bunch of solid players that can do work for you, and there's a lot of free safety packages for them with Cole Bishop, with Taylor Rapp, with Cam Lewis, with Damar Hamlin. They also have Dorian Strong in the mix there, and they are fine unit. But it's kind of like if you took James Cook out of the running back rotation and put another Ray Davis in, but like someone that would complement it more. It's like you would not be excited. It's like a functional room. They have utility next to each other, but you are not super excited. So they are functional. There is hope that Cole Bishop can develop as their second round selection last year, and like pick that I actually kind of like, and he was definitely not bad in year 1, though like it was far from great, but like he handled it, and that's absolutely fine. But like, are you excited about any of these safeties? Do you think like they are lifting you up? No. But again, like it's a fine rotation for cheap, for position that if you are just not bad, you can absolutely go with it. So it's an okay group. Again, it would be one of the lower ranks in the league, but nice depth and nice complements to each other, some potential. Like you cannot have every freaking room to be unfreaking believable. So I'm totally fine with this room, though I would not rank them high. So it's like, if you look at it, it's just like, well, they don't have good safeties or great safeties. Okay, but in terms of roster building, how much they are spending for this room comparing to the results you are getting on the field, nice job. And especially for the room that you can kind of afford that. You can afford to have like bad offensive line, if you want to go to the Super Bowl. You cannot have a bad quarterback, surprise. You need some of the weapons, some of the best rushers. Like on these rooms, like you cannot be just not the worst. But with the safeties, you can get by with it, and they are kind of doing very nicely. In terms of backups for the secondary, again, I think they are quite deep. You have Maxwell Hairston with Tre'Davious White, it's Dorian Strong that I like from this draft, Damar Hamlin. We know his story. It's really nice that he's back. Like I don't rank him super high in terms of like pure safety, but he does the job, good job for this team, and obviously they are super glad to have him around. And you also have Dorian Williams for linebacker. So they are very deep, and kind of that's across the whole defense. Like you have perhaps just 3 really high-end talents in Ed Oliver, in Greg Rousseau, and in Christian Benford. You have questions about where Taron Johnson, Joey Bosa, and Matt Milanos are at the stages of their career. But you have kind of like 15 other guys that can rotate for some meaningful snaps and are not going to like send you to the hell. They are nice rotational pieces, and that's where like I'm not sure how fair is it to criticize Sean McDermott in terms of his defense, because this is not necessarily defense that you spend super high on. And they were able to develop like Christian Benford from like a 6th round. Like it's not like they didn't use good like they didn't develop later round picks. So is it a Super Bowl level defense? No. Does it cost them in the playoffs? Yes, but is it necessarily Sean McDermott's fault, or is it just, well, they just don't have enough high-end guys to, hold on? Question. Just question to put out there. So this was the defense for the Bills. Now towards the predictions. So like I said, I really feel like they got a really nice schedule to start the year. I mean, the toughest game is first one against Ravens, Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson. What a freaking banger. But at home, I believe Bills are going to take care of the business. And with the other teams, like, I don't see them losing. I really don't. Like, at Falcons, if Michael Penix is really, like, pushing it, yeah, tough game. But Saints, Patriots, Dolphins, Jets, I think they will establish dominance. And, I will have Josh Allen as a main stage of this because of the showdown versus Lamar. Now, for the second part of the year, what I was talking about, this defense is not an awesome one. It's a good one. It's not an awesome one. And this part of the year, you will face your boogeyman in the Chiefs. You will also face the Bucks. And those are going to be, to me, very interesting games because it's not going to be in time of the year where you necessarily have the biggest home advantage. It's going to start to get nasty down there in Buffalo, but not necessarily as good. And this could be really nice high octane offenses. So how are you going to handle that? Very interesting question in my eyes. And then like Texans on the road, Dolphins, Panthers, healthy Tua. We could have something. Bryce Young, week 8, if he continues to play like he did at ending last year, we might be talking by week 8 about like top 15 quarterback. I definitely do believe in Ted McMillan to just really take the league by the storm. It could actually be a nice trap game for the Buffalo after the bye week, with the sides perhaps being too much on the Chiefs, and the Texans, well, that's going to be another banger. Now, for the rest of the season, it's highlighted by the facing of Eagles. Is it a Super Bowl preview? It might just well be. I predict them to finish 4-2, and just perhaps because, week 18 against the Jets, they might already clinch number 1 seed and really have it in the bag. Like, when I look at the schedule, it's actually kind of easy for a team that was winning the division last year. And like from a huge part, it's because this division is just not very strong. Like, Patriots are on the rise, but like, if I like, where are they better than the Bills? Like, perhaps secondary, perhaps, but every other thing is like, they are on the rise, but like pretty much on every single position, Bills are just better. And like, it could be a problem for next years because I trust in development of Regme, etc., and I really like Mike Vrabel, but I don't trust that they will be a threat towards Bills this year. And with the Jets, I think they are a feisty team, interesting team, but to beat the Bills, not really. And on Dolphins, I am well known to be lower probably than the consensus. So that's kind of 6 games that I actually believe they will go 6-0. And other than that, like, you got probably the easiest, not probably, like in my eyes, definitely the easiest division from the NFC in South with the Saints, Bucks, Panthers, and Falcons, and the toughest game with the Bucks you have at home. Steelers, Bengals, Browns, another it's not like the easiest division by any stretch of imagination, but this I've seen tougher schedule on teams that are not as good as the Bills or like did not even win division last year. That's, in my eyes, this is not necessarily a tough schedule, and I do believe Bills have really, really good chance to be the number 1 seed for the conference, and hence why I think 4-2, because at Jets, I do believe they could just go with rotational players. Overall, I predict them to finish 13-4, if needed 14-3, just to clinch the number 1 seed. And will it be enough this year? I'm not sure, but would I wish it to them? Kind of, yes. I do wish them to finally beat the Chiefs, because it has to be super freaking frustrating. Like, especially to be the team that actually handed Chiefs the Mahomes guy. It's time to get rid of the boogeyman, and this team is prepared to do so. So that was your Bills. my gut prediction for Super Bowl champions. Let me know what you think, and very much thank you if you are still here. Leave a like, leave a comment, and see you with the next one. Bye bye.